Well, the violence in Haiti has reached its third week. The gangs that have been terrorizing Haiti are not backing down at this hour. In fact, they are threatening to massacre a large portion of the population. Of course, this comes as the United Nations, according to the United Nations, more than 600 people were killed in Haiti in the month of April alone. Dan Cohen has been tracking this story for us and following it very closely. Dan, what is happening there?
Well, Clayton, it's an absolutely brutal situation in Haiti. So after the first several days of this bois calé phenomenon, where regular citizens are forming essentially self-defense brigades in order to uproot or attack gangs, the gangs are now daring them to come after them in their bases and have even taken hostages. There are a few videos that have emerged of these hostage situations. So they are disturbing. Be forewarned.
Wabo ki pou men. Sino ki pou men. Konen moun fou ba ou nou men gadi. Men. Men wè. Na bibi. Men wè. Men. Sin zin ap tue ou. Sa kafen ba tue ou. Aba gè don. Men. Men wè. Yes, wè. Wabo ki pou men.
Now, another video has emerged that shows gang members executing what appear to be regular people, perhaps that have taken part in the Bois Calais movement. We're not going to show the moment of the shooting, the execution, but this is indeed happening. Now, that first video that we saw appears to be of the 5 Seconds gang, which is part of the criminal alliance known as the JPEP. And the 5 Seconds gang is led by a guy called Izo. His nickname is Izo.
Welcome to another RBN Live special, and I call it a special because we do have a special guest. And by the way, I forgot this part. I am your host for today. I'm CJ, or J in real life, and CJ stands for Compton J, as I'm known on social media. And as I was saying, we have a very special guest today. He's been on a network before. What were we talking? Yeah, I think we were talking about Haiti then. But it's that guy you see on the screen right there. And let's bring him in right now. Actually, let me give him the proper introduction. But before I do that, this particular story that we're going to be talking about today, this is a story that I was completely unaware of until, of course, I heard this from Dan or Dan's account, Dan's tweet. So this may be a story that you are completely unaware of. So make sure you take a second to listen to this particular story. We have other stories, but this is the one I'm starting with because it's very, very important. Now, let's get to the introduction of my guest. He is a correspondent for The Redacted Inc. and a journalist for Uncaptured News. Filmmaker Filmmaker Another Vision, and he's a journalist to me. I don't see that on your profile, but I'm going to include that. So this is Dan Cohen. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for considering me a journalist. I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, your filmmaking is the storytelling is telling a story of news that people aren't aware of. So that's why I kind of consider it journalism. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all journalism. It's all journalism. It's
yeah,
yeah, it's all the same.
Absolutely. So. I know you're working on the documentary or have a documentary you've been working on. Can you give us the latest on that before we get into the story that we're for this segment?
Yeah, no doubt. That film is called Another Vision, and now we published it, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, maybe in like November. Yeah, end of I think beginning of November of last year. It's called Another Vision Inside Haiti's Uprising. It gives a lot of the background to the current moment, and it focuses on on an armed neighborhood self-defense group, federation of armed groups, called the G9, which the G9 family and allies. And it's kind of actually a similar iteration in a way of what's going on right now with this whole Wakale movement of people like taking up, arms to defend themselves against gangs. But yeah, I mean, the documentary is 3 parts. It focuses on the rise of the most prominent um, uh, armed anti-crime leader in the country. His name's Jimmy Cherizier, and he's very demonized in the media. If you Google him, if you watch like Vice sort of documentary
Mhm.
propaganda, you get the idea that he's the biggest killer, and so it's actually the opposite. And we go through and show how the NED, the National Endowment for Democracy, CIA, media arms created this narrative, and it was the very same figures who were involved in the 2004 coup against President Aristide um, that are involved in creating this image of Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier as a bad guy. And our documentary, just we examine all the evidence. We show his rise, how he's a former cop, how he went from a cop to like a would-be revolutionary leader, what he's seeking. So yeah, that's the documentary. So I really encourage everyone to check it out. It'll really help you understand the current moment in Haiti and just what's going on in general, and how the U.S. in particular is interfering, is like planning to just maintain the condition that it's in.
As they always do. And that documentary is called Another Vision, for those that wanted to know
Yeah, it's
the
on.
name. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
you can find it on my channel, Uncaptured Media. It's on there. It's on my Twitter in my links. It's linked in there. There's 3 episodes, about 2.5 hours of documentary, but we leave no stone unturned.
Wow, that's that's amazing. So being in the filmmaking industry pre-pandemic, I sort of understand the sort of work that goes into something that, for you to get a finished product of 2 hours and some. I know you've shot so much more footage that's just didn't make it. Is there plans for some sort of like you know extra cassette? I'm sorry. I think, did we lose Dan? Yeah, we lost Dan. So when he gets back, we will add him back in. There he goes. All right, so not that one. We'll add the real Dan back in.
My bad.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It happens to me too. So if it happens to me, just know I'll be right back
All right.
too, because this could be the StreamYard thing that we were talking about earlier. But anyway, could you talk about? We saw the intro video. Now, for a person that has never heard about sort of what we're going to be talking about, and that's this movement here.
Yeah.
Have never heard of this. Can you first tell us what is the dynamic that has been going on? I know you mentioned the your documentary, but briefly give us sort of close to when this began to happen. What was sort of happening that was the pivotal point to make people finally say, we've had it? Like, was there an incident or what? Tell us, give us, paint the picture of Haiti during that time.
Well, I mean, Haiti has been increasingly ruled by gangs. The state has weakened over the decades thanks to the U.S. That's how neoliberalism basically guts the state, so can't really govern, and all of the institutions along with it, including the police. So basically, people have been living in a situation of total insecurity. There are armed criminal groups all over the place who will grab people off the street or take a whole bus, like a public transport bus of people, and take them hostage, and then extort their families or whatever, and if the families don't have money, they kill them. There are massacres. There's really gruesome violence. We show it in our documentary how gangs kidnapped a young girl and set her on fire and killed her. She ran away and escaped burning. We showed how they dismembered another young guy that they caught on the street for being from the wrong neighborhood. So I mean, that's the level of terror people are living with, and that's just obviously a couple of little examples of it. There are massacres of 20, 30 people at a time. So the police have been totally incapable of fighting against them because of the corruption in the state. The gangs are really heavily armed. They have like modern, military grade weaponry. And so basically it got to a point, I think, where people just have no choice. There's been talk about a foreign intervention, which people don't really want either. But they do want someone to get rid of the gangs. And so this kind of popular uprising against these criminal groups, uh, well, what happened was the first incident in a neighborhood called Canapé Vert, where a bunch of people gathered outside a police station where some gang members had been taken in. They saw them being taken in, and they went and pulled them out and stoned them and beat them to death, and then set their bodies on fire. They get tires, and the reason they're doing this is because, with that level of kind of spectacle, is they're doing it intentionally in order to send a message to the other to the other gangs. And it's not really a perfect a method of justice. What they do is like they get someone who they suspect, they interrogate, they look for evidence. And then if they do find evidence and extract a confession, then they kill them. And I mean, they'll cut their heads off, that kind of thing. So a lot of people, I think it's easy to be like turned off by the spectacle of violence that we're hearing about suddenly. But, it's like kind of the same as, you never hear about like Israeli violence, but you constantly hear about like Palestinian violence or something like that, where people are just suddenly shocked that, oh my God, how could they launch rockets and this happens? Or I mean, granted, this is an internal thing, but the gangs in Haiti are sponsored by the political class. They're tools of the political class and the oligarchs that are tied to the U.S. So
what is the outcome, the interest, the return that the oligarch class has in these gangs? Like what is their return? What do they get out of the gangs doing anything for them, whether it's this or anything else?
Well, it keeps things it keeps people from being organized, and it maintains
divide and conquer.
Yeah, exactly. It maintains a level of exactly divide and conquer and instability and precarity. And so the violence is useful, and it has political goals. And sometimes it might just be that some oligarch hires a gang or whatever to kill a rival or burn down a rival business or this or that. But I mean, the most prominent gang members, they basically have all taken money from, and they're all tied to like powerful interests. So it's like ISIS in Syria, is not just like some phenomenon outside of politics or whatever. Like they were backed by Turkey and Saudi, you know what I mean? So the same way, you have these criminal groups that occupy these different neighborhoods, and there's an alliance of criminal groups called the GPEP, which means G people in English. And you can, like, the most prominent one, his name is Izo, who I mentioned in that report. He's pretty much enemy number one right now. I mean, that guy has kidnapped tons of people. He's murdered tons of people. And he's just sitting there. And like, same with all those guys. They're not under U.S. sanctions. They're not, the U.S. never really talks about them. The biggest criminals don't get talked about. They only talk about the guy who they're fighting against, which is Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier and his group, the G9, which is an anti-crime group. So there's like, it's like very similar to the Black Panthers. They, provide for their neighborhoods, they protect, they have, social programs. They kick out criminals. But they get targeted for that. That's who the enemy of the U.S. is. And they use those criminal gangs to target these neighborhoods and to keep people down. And those criminal gangs are who this Bois Calais movement is targeting. So there's kind of a the formation of the G9 back in like 2020, and this Bois Calais movement right now are kind of parallel in a way. They're both fundamentally self-defense groups. One is just more organized and is armed groups, and the other is like a totally spontaneous, leaderless movement of just people who have had enough. So, yeah.
I was just playing a little bit of footage I found on Twitter. And I can read the caption, but I think we can all see what's going on. They obviously have somebody who they don't like here. And this is a masses of people. So are they going around seeking out gang members? Is that what's happening?
They go and attack them in their bases even. So what they do, so basically when the first incident happened, one of the most interesting aspects of this is the police joined in, because the police, fight the gangs, but there's also a ton of corruption, and they're a tool of the state, so they don't do it very effectively. But there are cops who really, do want to get rid of the gangs. And so, like the rank and file, the political leadership does not. So anyway, you have this, the people and the police, like there are videos where people are accompanying like 100 people going, walking alongside with an armored vehicle going to confront gangs. And then the idea is like the gangsters can't kill all those people and the police, right? So there have been some really fierce gun battles. But what's happened, like now the police are there are rumors that the police are being like pulled back from the political leadership. So yeah, that's I mean it's an interesting dynamic between the people and the police.
Why are some of the people, and this could be tied to the United States, some of them are being called paramilitary? Why are some of the people this movement who are the people who they're attacking, some of the videos refer to them as paramilitary groups?
I didn't see that, but that's, I mean, there are none of what you could call paramilitary groups that are there. There were some reports that one group has participated, one armed group has participated in some of the Bois Calais stuff, called Chemechan, and that group fights against the most heinous criminals, like a group called the 400 Mauzo, which kidnaps Americans and Canadians. So maybe there is some paramilitary. I mean, if you could call that, I wouldn't call it a paramilitary. It's an armed group, but perhaps that one. But I've seen no footage of it, and the vast majority. I mean, even if there is any involvement from that group, the rest of it is just regular people who are taking rocks and machetes, and they don't even have guns. So it's just overwhelmingly a popular movement. And, from what I've seen, everything I've seen, Haitians overwhelmingly approve of it. They're excited because it's like fighting back against the people who are just plaguing the country.
That is so very interesting. Now, I do want to go to one of this one here. It was May 4th. You posted this, and it says, quote, freedom or death. Could you explain like what's happening in this video right here, and kind of, I won't put the sound on. I'll just let you tell us what this is.
Well, there you can just see people are taking machetes. It's not like they have they don't have guns. And they're going to confront people with guns. So they're bringing a knife to a gunfight, which just shows the level of, commitment, how bad, I mean, they're, maybe they're going to go with the police. I don't know. But, there was a viral video of a businessman in one city, begging, asking the diaspora to send money so they could buy, like, I don't know, thousands or maybe tens of thousands of machetes to fundraise. So it's a real, like, honestly, I think it's actually a real potentially revolutionary moment, because it's like popular uprising against the system. It's just like, will it go higher? The question, I think, is, will it go higher than these gangs? what the police will do, and will it go to the level of the oligarchy that it controls the gangs and maintains the status quo and that kind of thing. So it's a really interesting moment. There's actually, I mean, I can tell you this. One of the questions I've gotten is what the position of Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier and the G9 is on Bois Calais, because if they're this, they say, oh, if he's this revolutionary leader, why isn't he saying anything? And I was part of a conversation yesterday between Haiti Liberté, who I collaborate with, and Cherizier, and his position was basically like he endorses it. He wants to endorse it publicly. He and another leader, but there are 9 guys, and so there are 7 others that are afraid because they've been so smeared. The G9 has been so smeared in the media because of this incredibly successful State Department disinformation campaign that we show in our documentary, that then the media will attack Bois Calais, the Bois Calais movement, and say it's exactly what you were asking about, why they call them
okay, now I
paramilitaries.
understand.
So they want to.
I mean, Barbecue and his crew has been so smeared, and they don't want to be attached to this. Not the other way around. At first, I thought you were saying the movement has been okay. So that makes,
you got it.
That makes more sense.
They don't want to sully the movement. They're. It's like Barbecue. Actually, he agrees with me. I have the same position as him, that it's like you should say something because this is a real revolutionary moment, and it's totally leaderless and spontaneous and can kind of disappear at any point.
They need something, they need that, and that leader,
yeah, exactly. So but the majority in the G9 say like, well, we don't want the media to attack it, so it's a democratic process inside the G9. It's not like Barbecue is just forcing the issue or whatever. I don't know. I mean, it's but it could kind of die out at any moment. It's hard to say. But there's there are those hostage groups that I don't even know what's going on with them. Those videos just appear on Haitian Twitter and social media of these groups taken hostage. And these guys saying, it's like 50 people. What if I kill them all? That kind of thing. What are you going to do? There's also there were major police operations apparently accompanied by swaths of the population to the neighborhood controlled by that guy Izo, that criminal who I mentioned. And it's so I haven't heard anything about what the latest is that that they've gotten him or anything like that. But if they're really going to get rid of these gangsters, one, there's a lot of them, and they're really heavily armed. Secondly, if they just get rid of the gangs but not the system that creates that and funds them and arms them, then it's just going to be another round that comes up. It'll be some other guys that emerge. It's a lot remains to be seen what's going to happen here, obviously, but it's a pretty interesting moment in Haiti.
Absolutely. And this is an article you wrote. An anti-gang uprising erupts in Haiti, and they're being labeled gangs, but they're sort of an anti-gang organization. And let me read just a snippet from your article. A spontaneous and leaderless national uprising called Bois Calais. Is that how you say it?
Bois Calais.
Bois Calais. That makes sense. Yeah. Bois Calais. Literally meaning peeled wood. It refers to the tool used in a severe form of corporal punishment in some Haitian homes, and reflects not only the will of its participants to identify, catch, and kill the violent criminals who have long terrorized the country with kidnapping, extortions, and murder, but also to employ the criminal gangs' same gruesome methods of violence against the population. Indeed, the spectacle is the point seeking to strike fear into the heart of their tormentors. So the point of their violence is to strike fear to so that gang members will tone down, to so that gang members will, like criminal gangs, I should say, let's make that distinction. Criminal gangs will sort of take a step back. Have you seen any evidence of anything affecting, or has it kind of been turned up? Like, what has been the reaction, sort of overall? I know you've kind of spoken to it a little bit, but if we can go in a little more detail about some of the gangs. I know they're kidnapping too, but have we seen like there being like the neighborhoods have been a little bit safer? Like, what has been sort of the results? Go ahead, speak on that.
Yeah, 100%. As soon as it started, there were no reported kidnappings until yesterday. So that's more than 2 weeks without a kidnapping, which is that's unheard of in Haiti recently. And then yesterday, what happened, and this is according to reports, this is what reports I get from Haiti Liberté, who's listening to Haitian radio all day because it's a Haitian outlet, so those guys are just tuned in, and they have people on the ground too in Haiti. Is that the police and people were bearing down on a neighborhood called Martissan, which is controlled by another JPEP leader called Tilapli. Again, local criminal leader who runs a neighborhood, who just controls that area, and he, as he was being attacked, apparently, the police gave some order from the top to pull back. So the rumor was that the U.S. must have intervened, in the police political command, or in the police command, to tell them to pull back. There was some kind of, the rank and file of the police did not like it. So that's the last I heard. I haven't, really gotten an update today, but so that's not confirmed that, that the U.S. interfered, but the U.S. and Canada are definitely squeamish about this whole thing. They don't like it. The Canadians put out a statement I reported on where they said, basically that they disapprove. I can't remember the exact quote, but they disapprove of it. The Haitian regime that is, a tool of the U.S. and Canada has said that, don't, work with the police to hand the gang members over and they'll be prosecuted. But which is totally bogus, obviously, because there are gangs everywhere that are, they don't do it. So that's why, people have been pushed to this point that they're just killing gang members wherever they can. So, the powers that be are afraid of this. What's that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is this speaking about gang members? In your article on Haiti Liberté, one viral video shows a man in front of a large crowd blowing a conch shell, which was used to summon the former slaves to battle. A woman chanting while banging a spoon on a pot has become the icon of uprising. Another shows Haitians sharpening blades on the wheels, and we saw one where they were picking them up. So, what are you sort of referring to in this part? Or could you? I mean, I read the article, but could you explain what are you sort of hearkening back to? The movement is sort of hearkening back to here, and that is the Haitian Revolution. If you could speak on how you can make that comparison.
Well, just in the sense that. For one thing, they're using the icons of revolution. You played that video of the guy blowing a conch shell, but
right.
It's the iconography, and and the same tools, the machete. I mean, that's all revolutionary stuff. So, and it just has that same kind of zeal. Like Haitians are, they kind of have like I don't know. They're, the Haitians are revolutionary in the sense that what they achieved no one else has achieved. They were the slaves that overthrew the masters and created a whole the first free republic, and then went on to spread that around the hemisphere. And so that kind of proud iconography really means a lot. And they're in the sense that they're also trying to cast off oppressors from above. I mean, yes, the gang members themselves are Haitians, but they're that system of gangs and chaos and kind of controlled anarchy is imposed from the outside.
Absolutely. And what I'm so crazy we haven't talked about this already, but what have the police, is there a police presence in Haiti? What is there been reaction? What is the, like, is it just, Wild West where there's nobody, no governing sort of police presence? Oh, hey, yeah, that's what you said.
Well, no, there is a police presence. There is a police presence. I mean, it's just very weak. The police, all of the institutions, not just the police, all of the institutions of the Haitian state have been gutted by the U.S., by the system imposed, by neoliberalism, which the U.S. has enforced at gunpoint on Haiti. So the police is one of them, where it's trained by the U.S., it's controlled by the U.S. from above, and they're unable. They just don't have the capacity to take on gangs that have gotten so strong. There's been talk for a couple of years about military intervention in Haiti at the UN Security Council, all initiated by the U.S. I mean, the U.S. has been talking about it. I've showed that extensively in my reporting. And they want to get it through the UN Security Council, but they can't because of Russia and China. When the UN went into Haiti 20 years ago, or slightly less than 20 years ago, after the 2004 coup, Russia and China were not what they are today, and so now they're blocking any resolution that the U.S. might try to put through. So essentially, the police. So now the talk is, well, how they couch it is, we have to reinforce the police, support the police, and that has all been code for military intervention in the country. And so the irony is that the U.S. and all these powers have been saying we need to reinforce the police, which are very weak, but they've been wanting to do that against the anti-crime federation, the G9, whereas the people ended up actually reinforcing the police, and they are doing it against the gangs. So it's the police got reinforcements kind of ironically, like from the people, for the opposite reason. But now the police are controlled. It's a political tool at the end. That's basically the situation. That tweet, by the way, is wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out. So this is the initial tweet that you responded to. And I was just I was trying to look up the account to see if this was like an official or something like that.
This is the thing. This is the thing, CJ. Like, Twitter is, when it comes to Haiti and like how really that shows how effective the whole State Department campaign has been, because this is like an ostensibly like left-wing revolutionary account, anti-imperialist, and he's got something totally backwards that like anyone who pays attention to Haiti who's watching at least what's going on Port-au-Prince, is talking about gangs and armed groups and that kind of thing. Anyone should know. That's like saying like Hezbollah and ISIS are on the same side, or like, what I mean? It's like honestly, it's like confusing the Black Panthers with the KKK. It's like you got it completely backwards, So, that's just the level of bullshit that you see on.
And this is an anti-imperialist account. Anti-imperialist account.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like a rightist pro-government militia known as G. Okay, number one, Ezo is not in the G9. Ezo, he's in the G People, the total opposite, group. Their enemy. Ezo is one of the worst criminals. And there's my. Okay, so he a rightist pro-government militia known as G9. G9 is not rightist, nor is it pro-government. That's the lie of the NED, of the State Department, that they crafted this lie that is totally prominent on like kind of people, I don't know, on like elite Haitian Twitter. I don't even know what to call it. And it's like the Trump Russia
ruling
of
class. Okay.
it's like a Trump Russia kind of conspiracy where it's like, no, they're not they're enemies. What do you mean? Like the G9 was the group that held up. Well, okay, last November, when the IMF and US imposed fuel price hikes on Haiti and basically meant nobody could buy gas except for the rich, and there was a huge uprising against it to say, bring those prices back down, reinstate the tax breaks, the subsidies. There was a huge uprising, and the G9 went and blocked the fuel terminal, a main fuel terminal in Haiti. Okay, so then to force the government to put those back, to basically resist the U.S., the IMF, and the Henri regime. And then people say, "Oh yeah, he's a tool of the government." Like they had hardcore. There were major battles. I was there for the climax of that. I filmed it. I was like standing on a hill, where you can hear all the gunfire very closely. It's in my report. So people just don't want to deal with reality, and there's just this like moronic conspiracy theory that barbecue and the G9 are a tool of the government. And if you look at the record and you look at the evidence, it's all like, I've gone through it all. It's my documentary. It's part of the documentary. It's all bullshit. It's all lies, and it comes from the State Department.
This is so it seems weird that so many people or governments are so invested in this particular country. I don't know if it has any particular natural resources anybody wants to really, extract. It just seems like it's a vendetta that they have. Maybe it's because it's they overthrew slavery and outlawed it. Maybe that's the vendetta. Is imperialist countries are still upset about that, and so let's keep this in turmoil. But what say you about that? It seems like this is fights they're picking for. I don't know what the outcome doesn't seem like it gets them anything but the results of keeping this country in chaos.
Yeah, well, there's what you're saying is definitely true. Haiti has always provided a good example for the rest of the world. It was it's a vanguard nation in a lot of ways, because of the conditions it's subjected to. It breeds real revolutionary fervor, such extreme conditions. And so, the 1791-1804 revolution that they overthrew slavery, their slavers, and they killed them. They cut their heads off. They then fought the French, they fought the British and the Spanish empires and defeated them all. And then founded the nation's first free republic, or the hemisphere's first free republic. And they're never forgiven for that. It's not like we got rid of like colonialism and, we just have capitalism now. So there's the same, there's neocolonialism, right? And so part of it, I think, is also, of course, there's resources definitely that the U.S. wants. The one people talk about a lot is iridium. But I think basically, the geopolitical strategy of the U.S. is like, well, you can't if you let one fall, it can create a domino effect. And there's always been a lot of kind of revolutionary activity in the Caribbean in general. And of course, you're very close to Venezuela and Cuba. So, the U.S. does not want to allow that to happen. And if you look at it on even bigger on the geopolitical kind of chessboard, with the bifurcation of the global economy, the away from China that the U.S. is undergoing, that the U.S. is pushing, it's especially important for the U.S. to have its sweatshop labor, which Haiti also provides, you know, the cheapest labor, the most exploited labor, I should say, in the hemisphere. And, you know, that exists to this day. It may not be the heyday of it, but it's still there. And it, you know, for the U.S. to kind of keep it in its pocket is important. I mean, the other thing about being a vanguard nation is, you know, before the pink tide of the 2000s, the first in Latin America, the first, you know, progressive leader was Aristide. He was the first one of all of them, before Chavez, before Evo Morales, before, you know, any of them, Lula. And so Haiti is just always kind of ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. Like sometimes I go there and I just think that's what they want for us, you know, that's what they want to do to us here. It's the same thing, you know. So for people to just live in those kinds of conditions and you know, it's like Gaza in a lot of ways. It reminds me of Gaza. You know, they're both just very extreme places that breed revolutionary activity. Check out the documentary at Uncaptured Media on that YouTube. On my YouTube, Uncaptured Media. I also did a piece when I was in Haiti in November. I did a piece for Redacted, like a 25-minute report from the ground on that whole battle for the fuel terminal that I mentioned. I did that. That's on Redacted. If you just like look up my Haiti reporting, you'll find it. Dan Cohen, Haiti. You'll see it. It's in there amid some interviews. But just, yeah, you can see my work on Redacted, and I try to do as much stuff for Uncaptured Media, my little channel, as I can. So yeah, thanks a lot for having me, CJ.
The documentary that Dan Cohen mentioned earlier in the stream about Haiti, This Is It, Another Vision, Inside Haiti's Uprising. It's he said it's 3 parts. They're all about an hour each, roughly a little bit less. Let's play some it as our intro, as our outro. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Us on the Revolutionary Blackout Network.
Two centuries ago, the slaves of the French colony Saint-Domingue broke the chains of chattel slavery and colonialism. They called their new nation by its indigenous Arawak name, Haiti. The example and ideals of the Haitian revolutionaries spread throughout the hemisphere, leading over the next century and a half to liberation movements worldwide. Ever since that seminal revolution, North America and Europe have punished Haiti for its vanguard role through sanctions, dictatorships, coups d'etats, and invasions. Today, Haiti is a neo-colony of the United States, France, and Canada. Throughout it all, the Haitian people have resisted not only their subjugation, but the discrediting and vilification of their culture and fight for self-determination. This documentary series will push back against the disinformation deployed against Haiti and show how its so-called gang violence is in reality the continuation of a 200-year class struggle against exploitation and oppression.
One of Haiti's top gang leaders.
One of Haiti's most notorious.
Most
powerful gang leaders.
Jimmy Cherizier.
Known as Barbecue.
Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier.
His threats risk plunging Haiti into deeper chaos.
Qui est Barbecue?
Monsieur Barbecue.
C'est un criminel. Emile numéro 1. Pays d'Haïti, il comprimé.
Soit défendre cause monde. L'éternel va la face.
Jimmy Cherizier alias Barbecue, entrer la Kaimoun, li casser Kaimoun, li plier Kaimoun, li métifier Kaimoun. Problème li avec nous. Li te vle guider nous, non façon pour nous voler même avec. Nous même nous si nous pas bien se voler. Parce que c'est pour l'école, c'est pour social. Problème li c'est que li te vle nous entrer dans notre team Genève en famille.
Jimmy, how do you respond to these accusations?
M'pa pral répondre et moun ka parler a. Raison que fait m'pa répondre li et c'est un petit moun réellement à côté que moi même moi sorti dans réellement a. Moi gen kay dans réellement a. Son petit moun qui kon vinn côté m'le gen problème qui kon vinn demander m'kob que m'kon baye kob. Et jodi a m'a goumé contre un système. Et dans le niveau où même là, je vais descendre pour mal répondre aux citoyens qui a fait mentir contre moi. Nous avons des bagages qui sont plus importants que ça. Nous avons un pays pour nous sauver. Tout ça, c'est menti. C'est le système qui a cherché à détruire parce que je voulais aujourd'hui à moi oser à dénoncer ce système ça.